We'll jump right into visitors. Anybody, visitors not on the agenda, any comments, questions? Okay. Mr. Carr.
Good one. Good. Anyway, I don't know whether all of you have seen this. In the meeting, it sounded like most of you learned about it either in the register or from the patch about the CTA's suit against the town. Have all of you, has the First Selectman shared this with all of you?
You just said against the town.
Right, against the Board of Selectmen.
Correct. It's against the town.
Against the Board of Selectmen.
You can't sue the Board of Selectmen, you have to sue the town. Like I said that when we discussed it a couple of weeks ago. Regardless, but it's a suit against the town. Well,
has everybody got the copy?
Yes.
Did you get it from the First Selectman?
I just got it right now.
Oh, so this is the first you've seen. So from July the 10th until now, he didn't think this was something that was of interest to you. Is that correct? And then this is something that you may not have seen either. This is the legal bill for Goodwin. Oh, you've seen it. Goodwin and Shipman. Have you seen this?
I saw it in the resume.
Okay. And what does it appear that this is for? What is this bill for?
You can tell us.
No, I'm asking you, you've read it then.
Professional services.
Right, but then it goes on to describe what those professional services are, doesn't it?
You're presenting, so you...
Okay, well, what it is doing is it is charging you on a bill for an engagement, which I don't believe you ever authorized. Did you ever authorize an engagement with Shipman and Goodwin to get another opinion about the school?
No.
I wasn't on the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, but did you ever do that?
No.
So this is
this is the first last week, sir. I
know, I wasn't here.
know what you're dredging up.
I wasn't here last week. So anyway, but the fact is that without authorization.
By the way, we have an agreement with Shipman for services. So all I have to do is pick up the phone and call.
But you have an engagement with them for certain services.
Many services.
But there's a scope of those services. In fact, I asked for a letter of engagement in our FOI. We still haven't got that.
There is no letter of engagement.
Well, I can tell you that no attorney I've ever worked with would work without a letter of engagement. It just doesn't happen. Maybe you have a different arrangement. What is this? You know who's? This looks like this has been coded a certain way. I mean, these notes on it. Can you tell me what those are?
Those are that tells what accounts it should be paid of.
And who? Me. That would be you. So this, you're going to bill to labor council? Is that
There are labor attorneys for certain matters, right?
But was this a labor matter?
But here's the other one. It's pending litigation. We shouldn't be talking about it, first of all. Secondly, when I asked Gabe Jiran, he had said that he was going to take care of it and wasn't going to bill us. The other third part is this should not have been sent out because there are personnel issues on there that should not have been viewed by the public. Okay? So as part of the FOI, it should have been sent out as is because there are things on there that are personnel issues that should not have been viewed by the public.
No, you certainly could redact it.
How did you get this? Where did this come from?
It came from an FOI. Bring this information back. This is the style. We asked for this, we asked for a letter of engagement, we asked for some emails. This is the only thing we've gotten a couple of letters of FOI.
Well, so if it's got labor things on it.
It should have been, before it got sent out, I should have looked at it and made sure that it's cleaned up and taken out. Regardless of the fact, they billed us for $3,000. $3,900. They weren't supposed to. I called Gabe, he was on vacation. He called me on Monday, he said that was a mistake, it shouldn't have been billed. I went in the store.
Does that mean we're off the hook for paying it?
Yeah.
We don't have to pay this bill?
And it hasn't been.
Well, that's good. At least that's good.
Right. And I have the authority, we didn't enter into a contract, unfortunately, that's the chart. I did not enter into a contract, we had this running agreement with Shipman and Goodwin, as we do with the Wells and Wells. They provide a lot of services to the town, and it was a matter of phone call. You have somebody that can take a look at this for me. And he said yes. That was it.
Now the suit was dated the 9th of July, and it has a return date of what? What was the return date?
being,
It's
on a
August
stand or
7th.
something here.
So yesterday you
I feel like
got,
I'm in court.
so I guess the thing is you've gotten,
The selectmen don't respond to the suit, the town attorney does.
so the town attorney is going to respond to this suit?
He should have filed a motion yesterday. And that's all it is filing a motion.
So, and so the question is, at any time that you had an executive meeting in which you discussed any of this?
We'll talk about it next week at our meeting. I said I will have an agenda executive session to discuss pending litigation.
So this has been going on since July.
This is, excuse me, I want to explain. The town gets sued quite often. This is a minor lawsuit, okay? This is not something any of us can be held personally responsible for if they sue against the town. It happens on a daily basis. Either it gets farmed out to the insurance company or the town attorney handles it.
This is kind of a different suit, though. This is not a,
This is a lawsuit that looks like it was drafted by a third grader.
This is a lawsuit
I don't know how much you
that
paid your attorney, but
involves
it really isn't that well worked.
the implementation of the charter. This is not like, there was a pothole that we were aware of that didn't get filled, or a tree branch fell on a passing car. This is a specific action that the Board of Selectmen has been called upon to perform, that we're just,
And I said, what did I say to you yesterday? We'll talk, we'll bring Ben in next week to discuss it in executive session. We shouldn't be talking about it pending litigation.
Look, Carol, regardless of whether it's a pothole suit or it's this,
It's a lawsuit.
we still have a certain number of days to answer. We have, by the end of the day,
How many
file an
days is
appearance, and we have 15 days after that to file an answer. So while our attorney is reviewing how we should answer or not, we don't have the authority as the Board of Selectmen to file our own appearance or discuss how we can settle this until we hear back from the attorney on how he believes we should answer this complaint.
So we should just wait till next.
I think regardless of what the substance of the complaint is, it still should be handled as we handle every other litigation we found, and it should go through what we normally handle as we for complaints. What the procedure is. The return date was Tuesday.
Right.
We have 3 days to file an appearance, or your attorney is going to file his appropriate answer back, and then we have 15 days to.
And this is being
In the
done by,
interim, we have meetings.
this is done by your town council without any discussion among yourselves. Yeah.
I'm in here, but I would say that until we hear from the attorney as to how he may answer each allegation of this complaint, there's no need for us to have a conversation. I think we'll do that when we
Next
hear
week.
from him next week or the week after, if we have time.
Now, I wasn't here last week, but I understand what some issues were raised by visitors, Carol and others. And on 3 occasions, you said, so what are you going to do about it? Is that, I'm told it was 3 times.
Regardless, Kurt, I'm not going backwards in time. And this is not a hearing, it's not a public hearing. I think you had enough time on the floor to actually sit down. Thank you. Anybody else? Moving on. We'll move minutes to August 1st.
I'll second it.
I would like it to mention a discussion that I had where I reminded Willie that the charter states that you are not to make unauthorized appropriations or expenditures without going to the Board of Selectmen first. And that was in response to this bill from Shipman and Goodwin for $3,900. You have it labeled here, Labor Council. It's not Labor Council. It was...
Probably would have been legal other.
Right.
There's 2 accounts,
But-
labor or legal other.
Well, I mean, I just want things done correctly. I just want things done the way that the charter says that they need to be done, and that the Board of Selectmen is involved in expenditures that involve this town. I just want the minutes to reflect that I reminded you that that the First Selectman must consult the Board of Selectmen in regards to appropriations and expenditures.
Not if they don't exceed the budget.
If they're
That's not
already-
what the charter says. I can read it to you right here if you
Yeah.
want.
I don't need to get into it. If you want to put it in the minutes, we certainly
do.
will.
I
That's
do.
fine.
Section 10-4.
And Kevin came up, when I sent this downstairs, he said this should come out of legal other, and I said, well, quite frankly, we shouldn't even bill for it.
Well, that would be
That's
a
when I called Gabe
very
and he-
desirable end result.
And the bill's gonna be back to, he send it.
Well, please let us know when that happens.
We didn't pay it.
It's still early.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
That makes it okay.
Got a motion?
Tom, should I second it?
Approve the amended minutes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No abstention? Carried. All right, good. Moving on, resignations and appointments. All right, now we're into the charter revision. I told everybody last week, the charter committee provided a list which we went to the public hearing with, of proposed changes to the charter, and then they sent it and filed it with the town clerk as required. Now it's up to the selectmen to review it, hold a public hearing, not recommend any changes in addition or change anything that they did recommend, and then send it back to the Charter Revision Commission. Also, at that point, it's theirs. They have to hold a public hearing and then a meeting to finalize and send it to the town clerk with the question. So I asked everybody to review what the Charter Revision Commission did, proposed. I asked, and then if there were any other additional changes beyond that, or amendments to what they proposed. So to kind of keep it simple, I'd like to first discuss what they proposed, go around the room and see if anybody looked at what they proposed, go around the table, and if they have any issues with what they proposed at this point, not getting into any additional changes beyond.
I think that's part of the section, $50,000. Tom, can you speak up? We can't hear you. I looked at the part where the amount of the town meetings was going to be extended to $50,000 for $15,000. But that was a little bit excessive. It kind of slowed down the progress of the whole procedure. When I felt that maybe 25,000 tops, 50,000 was unreasonable. Also, the section on the...
That would be section 10.4B, on page 33, referring to, and also an amendment, and that also allows amending section regarding the Board of Finance, page 13, section 4-5A, and section 4-5A1, which two sections of the charter, it talks about the dollar amount. It would strike the dollar amount from section 4-5 and then refer to section 10-4, which was set the dollar amount at, well, right now currently they requested it to be set at 50,000.
I agree with Tom.
It seems like a lot of money.
And I agree. I said it should be 25, maybe 30 at the most.
25 max. Because how did they come up with such a big increase?
We
Is
talked,
it just a figure that they pulled out?
we talked to the finance director and other people, and brought people in and talked to them. So they felt that was too low. I agree with it was too low.
I've heard Kevin's opinions, and Kevin Kane, the finance director, and I know he would like to see it a higher sum, but personally, I don't have a problem with 15,000. Right? 15,000.
So like 20,000 would be reasonable, not 25%.
I think 20 would be a good compromise.
Lynn?
I agree that it's definitely high. I think that one of the things that was stated at the public hearing for the Charter Review Commission was, you know, people seem to understand maybe an increase for cost of living. I mean, 15 seems low. I don't remember when that number was instituted and which charter revision it was, but I believe it was too high.
Was it just a number that someone decided to
No, I
move
think
it
it
up
was-
to, or was it a discussion?
No, I mean, from being personally, I was on the last charter revision committee, and what we did was we went out and asked people who made those decisions, or people who had information to help us, and they went out to the finance director to ask him. So I think it probably came from his input, but I think 50 is way too high.
25%, about 25% would be fair to everybody.
So is that, did we discuss this? I'm seeing that we're agreeing on 20.
I think 20 would be
maximum.
I think
50 is just unreasonable, it's too high.
All right, at this point, so we make a motion and recommendation for a public hearing It regards on the list presented by the Charter Commission, numbers 33, 34, and 60, and that would be section 45A, 45A1, and amendment to section 10-4B to change the maximum appropriation to go to town meeting, reduce it from the proposed 50,000 to 20,000. Do I have a motion for that?
Make a motion
All right,
to make.
second. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else with the charter?
The other issue that we discussed on the first meeting was extending the time for the Board of Selectmen from 2 years to 4 years. What I feel about that is you run for office, you get elected on the second, you get sworn in on the second.
This is beyond, this is
Yeah,
that's for later.
that's not
We're not there
charter.
yet. We're just talking about what was proposed
All
first,
right.
and then we'll go back to any additional stuff. We're not there yet. Okay.
Yeah, those are my two issues.
Okay.
So are you looking now for general input on the,
What they have
okay.
here,
Well,
before we get into anything else.
Bring this up at the public hearing.
No, we're bringing it back when we go through this list. We can bring up any other stuff, so we'll propose it to the public hearing. That just
okay.
removed the part because, remember, they just established the alternates. The assessment appeals piece.
No, I meant, what I wanted to look at was the Board of Finance alternates.
Right, which is, I had a question mark there, it's page
Yeah.
10, section 3-7.
Right. Personally, every Board of Finance meeting that I've ever attended, the two alternates are there. I have never seen them, I mean, Valerie Nye is new to the commission, but she's been there every time I've attended a meeting. Doug Trainer is there every time I've attended a meeting. Those are the two alternates to the Board of Finance.
And
Doug
Minor was
Traynor-
there every time there was a meeting
Exactly.
before you got sick.
Exactly, so I don't see an argument for removing alternates from the Board of Finance. I think they are extremely well informed, they keep themselves up to date, and they provide a very necessary service to the board. I've seen plenty of elected finance board members who miss easily 30% of the meetings, who are not as up to speed and as well informed as the alternates are. So I think to take them out of the picture would be a big mistake. I think they serve a very important purpose to the Board of Finance.
I agree. Any comments on that? Tom?
No, it makes sense what you said.
What-
It would just be another step going backwards.
Yeah, no, I think that they're extremely valuable. And that is page 10, section 3-7.
3-7,
Yeah.
right now it's eliminated.
Yeah. I do have to say that I am in agreement with changing the term to 4 years.
I would say
6
probably the
years.
Board of Finance members are probably agreeing with that.
Yeah,
They are
6 years is just way.
It's like, you know, you're there when your kid's born and you're there when you go to
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, that just
4 years is perfect.
is a huge commitment, so.
All right, so, motion to reinstate section 3-7, which would be the Board of Finance alternates.
I make that motion to reinstate that
Sarah,
section.
do we have another copy of this document?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a copy. Thank you.
I'll get off that. It's campaign literature.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, wait a minute, so we're making the motion to
Reinstate that section.
reinstate section
3-7.
3-7?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And what about section 3-6, change 6 years?
If we're not touching it, then it just stays.
Oh.
We don't have to, they've already submitted.
Oh,
This is
okay.
just
All right.
any amendments to what.
So we're in
Commission.
effect denying that? Oh, no, we're
No, no, no,
agreeing
no,
with that.
yeah, these are just changes to what they presented at this point.
Okay.
Okay, John, anything?
Those are two I really cared about.
Okay. All right, Lynn?
No, I mean, those are the two things that I think the public were concerned about as well at the public hearing that I attended, and the two things I wanted to comment on tonight, so. Good.
Can I ask a general question regarding this merit system that's cited in the?
They changed it from may to shall, with the merit system.
Yeah. Do we have a merit system
No, we
for
do not.
classified service of the town?
No.
So,
I don't
so
know
why
if
is
any-
this in here?
I don't even know if any other town has one either. And then what we're trying to do by changing it from may to shall is to force the town to have.
Is there anyone from the charter
Lenny's here, I don't know,
committee
or
that
Lenny or
might
Mike or-
touch on this?
Yeah.
And what the purpose of this is and
Merit
whether,
system's been in the charter since year one. And it said may, and we changed to shall.
well,
It's been in there 100 years.
What does it mean, Lenny? What does it really mean?
The unfortunate thing is
Nobody
now,
knows.
it's difficult to do it because it has to be a non-union person.
Right.
So you only have
Fine.
three people.
Basically, it's the administrators of the police department, the public works director, the finance director, the town clerk, the tax collector, and Mary. That is it.
That's right. But
Okay,
it's been in the
It's
charter.
basically a review system. You
for
basically,
100 years.
right.
it's a performance evaluation.
Well, if they change it to shall, that means this has to go into place.
Yeah, you
This
have
has to
to.
go into effect.
Which, right.
And
So
that's-
you can vote to take it out.
I have no problem.
Well,
doing
I
that.
like the idea, but I think it's valuable. I just wonder how we go about implementing something like that.
Leave it in,
And then you would take
gotta
that
find,
out.
if there are other towns that do it, we gotta find out how they do it, what the hell, and then set up an evaluation system. The police department had one, they did it for quite a while with administrators, kinda slipped out the last couple of years. They do, but they don't, it's not formal, as formal as it used to be, and there's never been anything with the town. Okay?
All right. I have no, can I, you want me to just keep going on here? I know, like a page
Well,
and a
no,
half.
this is just
No.
regarding the list, though, anything regarding this list, that's what we're talking about now.
Let's see if this thing- Oh, good, okay. 10-4A. All right, yeah, on question, page, blah, blah, blah. Number 58, page 32, section 10-4A, change shall to may. And it reads, all requests for special appropriations, shall is crossed out, may is boxed in, may be made in writing to the Board of Selectmen, which shall forward such requests together with their comments or recommendations to the Board of Finance. Personally, I'd like to leave that at shall, meaning that it's required that requests for special appropriations come to the Board of Selectmen, and then go on to the Board of Finance. The Board of, and you kept in here, the Board of Finance shall act on all requests for special appropriations, which I understand, but to circumvent the Board of Selectmen,
Well, it doesn't circumvent, it changed, it's just saying shall to may. It still says, be made and ready to the Board of Selectmen, which shall forward request to the Board of Finance. You
Right.
still have to go to the Board of Selectmen with it.
Why would they change it?
I don't know why you would change it to may. You can't go directly to the Board of Finance, you have to go to the Board of Selectmen.
so why would you, yeah, so I believe that shall should stay in there.
Well, I'll just suggest, and I'm not sure, maybe Lynn can clarify, but I know on water pollution, we don't make requests in writing, we come and speak to the Board of Selectmen, so maybe it's
Right.
just a matter of being in
Right.
writing versus coming to,
It's always
The
been,
Board of
it's always
Selectmen.
said be made in
may
writing.
be made in writing versus shall be made in writing.
See, I'm not looking at it as
The writing part of it.
the writing part.
Right, but I think that's the way it, when you
Well,
read
that
it
is,
through.
yeah, you're right,
Shall be
now that
made
you
in
point it
writing.
out, yes.
I don't know if that was a reason that it was changed, so that if it's not made in writing, then essentially it doesn't mean anything. So if we come, or Hal, Mr. Dolan comes for water
Well,
pollution control.
okay, and should it be then, it shall be in writing? I mean, you just said if it's not in writing, it
I
doesn't mean
think,
anything?
If you
changing
change it
it
to
from
shall.
shall, changing from may to shall, if.
Well, it's already- it says-
It already reads
It
shall,
already
they
reads
want to
shall.
take that out and make it may.
Right, but now, I think we would have had the ability, if it wasn't in writing, to say that someone coming to the Board of Selectmen just to make a presentation wasn't effective because it wasn't in writing. So if it says maybe in writing, I don't think it reduces the requirement or takes away the requirement. The option to be in writing.
Everybody that comes has, they bring us, there you go.
I think they still have to come to us. It doesn't say we don't have to go right to Board of Finance.
That covers it.
Well, if we leave it the way it was, then it must be in writing.
It always is. It always is. Everything comes in, they come in with a button, you come in with a line and say, this is what it's costing us, this is what we need, and that's in writing.
Right, so why
Okay,
change?
so leave it at shall then.
Okay, thank you.
But that might have been the reason behind it.
All right, so can I make a motion then?
Leave that, restore that.
Right.
Motion for that, Carol?
I'm making a motion
I'll
to
second
restore
that.
the word shall in place of the word may, section 10-4A.
Second on it? Lynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, abstentions, motion carried. Okay. Anything else on the list?
Oh, there was one other. Okay. Mayor. Books and records of town-aided organizations, page 34.
Right, number 61, page 34,
Right.
10-6F.
There, and the bottom edition, this is, if anybody's paying attention, books and records of town-aided organizations, number 1, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, or their designee shall have access at all reasonable times to the records and books of account of town-aided organizations. That means any group that
That's
we
always been there.
make donations to, we can see their records if we want to. That's always been there. Number 2 is the town shall make no contribution to any organization if prohibited by Connecticut general statutes. No contribution of more than $2,000 per annum shall be made to any organization or corporation whose appropriate financial records are not submitted to the Board of Finance along with its request for an appropriation. That's always been that way. The Board of Finance may, by majority vote, may waive this requirement. The charter revision has deleted that, which I think is, in my opinion, that's fine. Any organization requesting an appropriation in excess of $20,000 shall submit a financial statement prepared by a certified public accountant. That's always been there. That, I agree. There's an addition here of no contribution of more than $100,000 per annum shall be made to any organization or corporation who does not comply fully with the requirements in section 9.1 and 10.2 of this charter in the same manner for elected and appointed boards. What this is saying is that any organization that comes to the town and receives more than $100,000 will have to supply the same records to the town that any board in this town is responsible for.
Any organization that has a board of directors is going to have to provide us with their minutes of their meetings, all of that stuff.
I consider that a critical addition to the charter. I would, and I read this going around, this was something that I saw that somebody suggested adding to this, where it says to any organization or corporation, maybe adding the words or other or agency after that, which would really encompass anybody who can, I mean, it would, if there were any loopholes there, it would close those loopholes. Any agency that came to the town, regardless of how they're organized, if they came and asked for more than $100,000, they would have to submit these records. I can't see any harm in adding that. I think it just, you know, if anybody...
Just put agency, get rid of organization or corporation.
Yeah, you could do that.
It covers it all.
Yeah, it does. Now, okay.
I know there was discussion about
Consequences?
well, imposing our will on them and saying you gotta have a finance board member or selectman on these boards and this and that, but we'd never be able to do this. Most of these are politically private organization, LLC, not-for-profits, 501c3s, whatever, it wouldn't, you can't force them to do that.
Well,
But
what
at least
would happen
getting
if
them
they
to-
didn't comply with this?
We don't give them money.
It's a big hammer.
That's easy.
Right.
Okay, that's
Right.
easy.
Well, is that, I mean, that's not stipulated in here. Should that be
Well,
stipulated?
that's when it goes to the
here?
Board of Selectmen for the budget review, and then it's up to the Board of Finance, and then there's all these requests, and we don't have a financial statement from you guys, or we don't have records of what you've done through the year. And they've done it before, and they said, you know, unless you come forward, we're not gonna give you the money.
I mean, I agree with that, but, I'm thinking there's a time factor involved in,
I think when it started last year, they did, the letter did go out, right?
Last 2 years, letters have
The
gone
letter
out.
goes out well in advance of the budget process that we need financial statements from you.
and did you receive everything that you were looking for?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I mean, not necessarily
receive
financial
everything?
statements.
Yeah, there's a difference. Is it a financial statement or is it a ledger?
Right.
You know, is it an audit?
Some of them send us marketing
Are you
materials.
gonna get an auditor's report or are you gonna get marketing materials?
Would you want an auditor's report?
Well, some people, they don't have to do audits the same way the town does.
Yeah.
But they basically give you a financial statement saying, we took in this, this is where the money is. This is what we kind of spent on it. We went through it with, you know.
Mr. Trainer went through all that stuff.
Yep. We did it years ago. We started with the fire department. Now their bookkeeping is much better. We have a more better understanding of what the money is and where it is.
There's not a lot of organizations we give over $100,000.
Right. Great.
All right, well, if everybody's fine, then that's fine.
Okay, no, you want to, I think it's, you want to change that to agency, or you want to leave it as
I do. Is that a more encompassing designation than corporation and organization and that? Agency would cover everything?
or entity?
I mean, I think organization and agency are probably the same thing. Organization might be more encompassing
Yes.
than agency.
What do you think? I know. So, Lynn,
I think organization is probably more encompassing than agency.
Okay. All
Based on
right.
how people are, you know, how things are named and whatnot.
All right. We just want to make sure that
Corporations can
everybody's
cover
covered.
non-for-profits because they're not stock corporations.
Basically, anybody's gonna ask for $100,000 is gonna
It's
get
gonna
put
be a
through a
non-stock
ringer.
corp.
They're gonna get put through a ringer if they're asking for $100,000. I don't think that's gonna.
I think organization does it. I mean, that's just.
All right, okay, then I defer to
And when the
your.
Board of Finance says we don't have this from you, so, well, doesn't, we're not an organization or corporation, so we don't have 100,000. That's easy.
All right, okay.
Okay. So we're off the list now, we're good with the list. Those are the three things we want to change. Proposed. All right, now we're back to Tom, anything additional?
Can I discuss the?
Now you can jump into the other parts.
The part we discussed a while ago at the beginning of this process about changing the Board of Selectmen position to a 4-year position. Being that you get elected you get sworn in the second Tuesday in November, you get right into the budget the first week, all the way to the beginning of the summer, as we had in the past. You spend roughly about a year getting involved with some of your projects, whether you're running for office. This job goes by so quickly, and there's so much to absorb, there's so many things that you came here to do, that 2 years is just not enough. So it would be in the best, well, it'd be in the best interest of the position to elect to a 4-year period, so you get a lot more done.
I'm good with two, myself.
I'm good with 2. You got 2 already, John, you're working night and day.
I'm just looking at the input from the public hearing on July 17th, and the public input, as noted in the minutes, says don't change selectmen's terms from 2 years to 4.
Well, the
Believe me, I get that
public has to
argument.
see the work that, the more time you have, the more you
I
get out of
understand.
it, and You see how much time they're
I
spending.
understand, I
Exactly.
totally
There's a lot
understand.
of time, people don't understand that you spend 15, 16 hours a week, or just in the last 2 days. To move it to a 4-year position would be in the best interest of the position, so you could get a lot more done. Meaning that you spend 50% of your time working with financial budgets that go on.
I don't think some people would run for it, you know what I'm saying? Because
If
they
they
might
do it,
not want to
they're
have to,
going to. They would run for
because
it.
they could always,
This is
do it again, and so be, but it's tough to commit to 4 years. I mean, it might not seem like a long time to you,
Well,
but
I'm looking at getting something done. If you're gonna commit to it, it's what you're looking for. Between all the downtime, 50% of this job is downtime. So,
Really?
You know what I mean?
maybe you thought about it for a long time.
Oh, you do.
I don't want to- But that's the way I feel about it.
I think you have to, I mean, the public at the hearing said that they don't want the term changed from 2 years to 4 years. Believe me, I totally get it, that there's a huge learning curve, and it takes an awful lot of time to get familiar with how things work and the nature of the beast. But, I mean, most political offices are every 2 years, and there's a reason for that. If you're unhappy, boom, go on. And if you're delighted, then you just re-elect Willie every 2 years.
That's one way to look at it, but I just feel that, more qualified you are, as you get into your 3rd year, 4th year, you can really get something done. Versus going out a year and a half and right away you really, then it turns into a
I
political campaign.
totally understand your point, totally. But if the people who came to me and said they don't want it, who are we to
If people at the
assert?
meeting want to change the Board of Finance to 2 years, it's kind of the same thing, they get involved with the
They
town.
would-
Yeah, the only thing I said when I went to the Charter Review Commission, why is every other position in town that's elected 4 years except for the Board of Selectmen? Why are they, you were there, I said, why are they any more important than us? That's what I don't get.
Then if that's the case, if the public feels about this, it should be all 2 years, not 2 years here. 4 years.
No, that's
6
not,
years here.
you can't use that
The
argument.
more time you spend on your job, the better you get at it versus bringing in new people, training, which is the way I see it.
And you know what, how can we?
Two's fine right now, but I haven't gone my 2, so, yeah. I'll make that, that's what I'm saying, but I don't, who knows if I want to make that commitment again, so now you're on for 4, and I'm not making quitting when I start,
I
so.
understand. So the person that takes on the commitment of running for the position.
But there's a lot more work in the Board of Selectmen than there are probably most committees,
That's what I'm getting.
because you're put on a lot of other things,
That's
so.
one of the reasons, there's so much to
I think you
accomplish
spend-
in such a short time. The more you have, more quality time versus always worrying about constantly working on the budgets and getting reelected. It's happening often.
I don't worry about the re-election part, Tom, you shouldn't be worried about that, you should be just worried about what you're supposed to be doing.
Just tell you the way that, I'm telling you the facts of the 2-year position. There's a lot of doubt.
You know what, is this even our purview to discuss, because the
We can-
charter revision did not
We can
bring this to
bring
us.
them anything.
Doesn't mean.
They
Doesn't
made.
Doesn't mean that they're gonna, and we go to a public hearing on the 22nd. Right after the public hearing, we'll have a special selectmen meeting specifically just to discuss what was done at the public hearing, what the comments were. Do we want to stay with the changes that we recommended? And if we vote to do that, because we'll go through them again, just like we did tonight.
Well, the charter revision voted against.
And then it
For
goes
your
back,
terms.
it's fine.
In-
But the selectmen can change that and then
Just
send
like
it
we're
back to
changing
them.
anything.
Then go back to the Charter Revision Commission,
Well,
and then they have the final say.
We're not bringing up things that they didn't discuss in
Yeah, we are.
our discussion
That's what we're
here.
doing now.
Right,
When-
we're not bringing up items that they didn't put forward for
No, this was
addressing,
brought up before Charter Revision.
and
right,
they voted it down.
Right. Doesn't mean that we can't ask them to reconsider via a public hearing, a Board of Selectmen meeting, and send it back to them. They have to have a public hearing based on what we send back to them, and then they make the final decision. They make everything we
I
just.
think when you had it at a public hearing and the public said they don't want it, why are we going forward
Well,
with
they
that?
I don't
didn't
think that's
because the,
official.
It wasn't presented to
charter
them.
revision had already said no to
They didn't
it.
present it to
They didn't
them.
present it to the public, and there was one comment, but it wasn't in the proposed changes, so there was no public comment at the charter revision hearing. I mean, I kind of see John's point, I see Tom's point. I think that there's no other elected office in town that's less than 4 years, and I think most offices are for 4, so I can see it from both perspectives. John's is a lot of work, maybe more than 2 is too much to commit to, but I also, not necessarily from an election perspective, but from getting a job done, I think sometimes it takes more than a couple of years to get things completed, so.
I mean, some of the things you're talking about, Tom, are on other committees though, correct?
Right.
And other boards. You could still stay on that even though you're not a selectman.
I understand that.
You know, like
I'm
say,
talking about this particular
economic
position.
development or whatever, that's what you're getting work done. I mean, what, on the Board of Selectmen, what work are you trying to get done? It's the other things you're on.
Exactly.
Just the budget process alone takes more than 3 years to
Takes
figure
up- Takes
out.
up about a third of the year.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So the 2 years is really, a little under a year and a half. So, once you get involved with certain projects, you need more time. They just feel that it should be extended for these purposes.
You know what I could understand is rotating terms, where you're not replacing 4 or 5 selectmen every 2 years. I would entertain the thought of rotating, where one minority selectman is up for re-election every year and 1 or 2 majority selectmen. I can see that, but I think just going bang from 2 to 4 years, I don't think that's a popular
That
decision.
would help having a 2-year position and a.
Unfortunately, with what's ahead of us and what's ahead of the commission, timing, there's a lot of logistics to work out to develop staggered terms for this.
Well, if we're going back to them for discussion, and we have somebody from
Michael,
Charter
you wanna say
Commission
something?
that would like
Yeah,
to speak.
as Charter Commission, we did not vote against 4 years or to change it all. We want to leave it up to the people.
Right.
But we did not touch it, we left it as is in the charter.
But
There's
you
no
did
vote
discuss
taken.
it.
We did discuss it, and we decided just to leave it as the charter is now.
Okay.
So if we vote to change it,
Well, it has to,
then we can go to public hearing.
and then after the public hearing, we can hear what people think, and we can decide after the public hearing, we can say no, or if we think it's go forward, we send it back to Charter Revision. Charter Revision has a public hearing, then they have a meeting, they can say to forget about it, and then it is.
Wait a minute. I have your minutes, the Charter Revision minutes from June 21st. And the minutes read, the next section of the charter to be discussed was the term length for the selectmen. A quick roundtable vote was taken to determine if this was an issue which needed extensive discussion, and it was a vote of 4 in favor of keeping it a 2-year term and 3 in favor of a 4-year term. 1 member was still debating which term length would be better. A motion was made by Terravile, seconded by Welch, to change the selectmen's terms from 2 years to 4 years. The first motion to change the selectmen's terms, okay, I'm sorry. A motion was made by Terravile and Welch to change the selectmen's term from 2 years to 4 years. A motion was made by Francis, seconded by Miller, to table this issue until the next meeting. That vote did not carry with a 3 in favor and 5 opposed. The first motion to change the selectmen's terms from 2 years to 4 years was then voted on, and it did not carry with 3 in favor and 5 opposed. Yes, you did vote against changing the
That's
term
fine.
of the selectmen.
That's fine.
Well, you just said they didn't.
But I
They
understand.
did.
But we did just change things, 3 items that they did vote on to change. We just went through their list and we changed 3 items.
This is not a recommendation from them.
And we don't have to go by their recommendation. We can, the Board of Selectmen has the right to add if we want. And then go to a public hearing and a meeting and send it back to Charter Revision. And Charter Revision can say, well, guys, we're
I
not
think
doing
it's a
it.
bad idea. I think it's a very bad idea. I think 2 years is.
We already have a public hearing.
We got a Charter hearing scheduled for 22nd.
So we can present any changes we make.
being that it was such a close vote.
It wasn't a close vote.
Yeah, what I was thinking.
How was it a close vote, 3-5?
It was
4-3.
Close. Regardless, all right, you have to make a motion and we'll vote.
I make a motion to, bring it back up, the position of selectman from a 2-year term to a 4-year term.
Section 3-3.
I'm a second.
Discussion on anything more. All in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye. 3. No?
No.
2 and 3, 2 and 3.
Why are you voting now?
I can vote to break a tie.
Well, how did you know there was going to be a tie? You voted against it, there was a tie.
I know. How did I know? How did I know? How did I know?
But, you know, let's just play by the rules.
I can vote any time I want. It says First Selectman is a voting member of the. So, all right. Next, Tommy, anything else?
As far as the charter reviews, those are the 2 items that I was interested in.
Okay. Carol, anything else?
Okay, well, if we're gonna throw different topics into the pan here, why do we have a capital expenditure committee? We meet, the capital
The state
expenditure
requires it
committee,
to have one.
then why isn't it addressed in, where is, I
It's not in the
don't
charter.
have knowledge that the state requires a capital
You
expenditure.
have to have an ongoing capital expenditure committee, put out a 10-year plan in order to be eligible for local capital improvement money from the state.
Okay, so you're saying we need a 10-year plan?
And which is
Why
theoretically
doesn't
what we
the,
have.
and which is what we worked through on the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. And invariably, this capital expenditure committee meets for months. We discuss at length what people would like from capital expenditures. We make a decision, it goes to the Board of Selectmen, and it gets
Got it.
gutted.
So how do you go about
So
Because
what
when you
is
come
the
in
point?
with a $2.5 million request,
Well, that's because there are people on the committee who find it very hard to say
I
no.
understand.
And so it just seems like a lot of time and energy expended for no purpose.
If nothing
I mean,
else.
everything comes to the final decision of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. Why don't we just go there in the first
If
place?
nothing else, it's a vetting process. The departments come to the capital expenditure committee, present their cases for what they want, they show the long term, so everybody has an idea what is coming down the road. So theoretically, there's no surprises, and we try to get away from, fun stuff, as I used to call it. We need to know what needs to be done, maintenance issues and this and that, not that we need this piece of equipment because it'd be nice to have. It goes through the vetting process of the capital expenditure committee. In theory, the selectmen and the Board of Finance members are supposed to be following that through minutes and et cetera of what was presented. I know, but in theory, they're supposed to, and
What were the figures? They were pretty.
it was way up this year.
It was extremely high.
And we still ended up with more than what we had a year ago when we finally got
The
approved.
figures that they recommended in budget season, really high.
You mean for capital expenditure or for, yeah.
They're a little higher than the reinvestment.
So
And
it is
that's,
part of it, but it isn't part of the vetting process. It's something the state wants you to have, requires you to have as a 10-year plan, and that's the way the town decided to do it. It's part of the finance policies and procedures, and the Board of Finance has adopted to have a capital expenditure committee. It's listed in there, and it talks about the $7,500 amount that you gotta be a minimum of in order to be eligible for the request. The makeup of the committee, who it can be, who it can't be, it's well defined. And I know it's not in the charter.
all right, it just seems redundant. All right.
Okay, anything else? The only other thing I looked at off of and I don't know if the town clerk is still here,
Yep, come here.
was the section 3-2A, that's page 9, which regarding the vacancies. And this has been a sticky issue for years, to the point where I think Karen can speak to this. The Secretary of State's office has asked us to get rid of it. The last line, where an elected office, it talks about elected office because vacant, The appointment would be for the unexpired portion of the term or until the next regular town election plus 14 days, whichever first shall occur. That creates a lot of consternation, confusion at the ballot. It confuses both town parties when they're putting candidates up to run for spots, because you got to figure out that if there's a vacancy, and we just had it with the Board of Ed this year, the vacancy position gets filled first, unfortunately. And I would recommend that last line, where it starts as or until the next regular town election plus 14 days, whichever shall first occur, be stricken, and just, you know, it's got to be a member of the same party of whoever resigned, subject to approval by the Board of Selectmen. We've been doing pretty good lately with honoring the requests of the town committees. Pretty good. I said pretty good. And
I'm not pointing any fingers.
And you know, I think just getting somebody to fill a vacancy position, you know, say somebody on the board that resigns, you know, a year into a 4-year term, and now you're going to put somebody up to fill that spot. Who are you going to get that's going to say that knows that in a year, if I really want to do this, I'm going to have to run again. I'm going to have to run for this darn thing. You know, I'd like to see it just for the full portion of the term, unexpired portion of the term, which in our case, selectmen, right now, is 2 years. Lynn's only got a year and change, and he's going to figure it out. I mean, and Karen, I don't know if you want to speak to what it does to you with the ballot and what the Secretary of State's office has said.
Well, I'm sure people could care less what it does to me with the ballot, but the problem is the scenario this year, being fresh in our minds, with the Board of Education, there was a vacancy. It was a Republican seat originally. At election time, both parties are allowed to put up a candidate. This year, I mean, this is, let's just say it was a Republican seat. It was vacated and filled by another Republican to fill until the next municipal election, leaving 2 years left to work out before the term expires. So it happens that the Republican candidate for this 2-year seat withdrew, which meant automatically the Democratic candidate automatically got the seat. This changes the format for the full seat, full 4-year seat, that we had all of a sudden, because there's a Democrat there, and this could have happened if it was the reverse with Republican, 2 of the 3 candidates running for Democrat were fighting against each other. When initially, without the vacancy seat, it's very possible they could have gotten the 2 seats. And this could have happened even if it was just a reverse with a Republican. It's very complicated. People don't understand that I have to fill the vacancy seats first, which will alter the end result in full seat as far as minority representation. So what you vote, who you vote for is going to get a seat. It's very complicated. It's very touchy with the candidates themselves. There's nothing I can do. It's the law. The Secretary of State said that the majority of the towns in the state of Connecticut have given up the 2-year vacancy slot on a ballot just for this reason. They've said, why don't you do this? And I've tried. I've been in office now 24 years. I've tried for at least 18 years. And no one understands it because you don't have to work with it. You don't have to look at a person and say, I'm sorry, where you thought you had a seat, it's no longer there. It is what it is, but it was just a matter of cleaning up the ballot so there'd be no questions, no confusion as to who you're voting for and who won.
And it always ends up in an argument.
Yes, it
Come
does.
nominating time.
Yes.
If it's the
Yes,
law, how do we change it? How can we?
If it's in
By
your
charter.
charter, if it's in your charter,
It's in our charter, by eliminating it in the charter,
Okay,
where,
gives us the option.
yes, it does.
any comments on that?
I've seen what it does to Karen, I've seen what it does to candidates and people who come forward for positions, and I agree that we should definitely clean it up. I know it came up at our last revision committee, and I don't even think we understood it enough to change it, but Karen just did a great job explaining that. I I've seen what happens when people are caught in the middle, so I think we should change it based on the state's recommendation to clean up the ballot, whatever that language needs to be.
Anybody else?
Who would determine that language?
All I would do is, you're just gonna strike that sentence, because it already reads, said appointment shall to be for the unexpired portion of the term, then it continues on or until the next regular town election plus 14 days, so you would just strike it after, at or, and take the rest of it out. That last sentence would come out, or that sentence would come out. Okay. Motion?
I'll make it.
Motion, alternate to change 3-2A, paragraph A, strike or until the next regular town election plus 14 days, whichever shall first occur. Motion, second. John got the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None, abstentions, motion carries. Anybody, anything else? That's it? Okay. All right. So that's what we got. So it's recommendations of the commission plus page 5. Okay. Moving on. Selectmen's report.
I was in Middletown today for about 4 hours, but Middlesex Revitalization Commission, the commission that I'm on, meet once a month, they can make small loans to the DECD. One of the loans that we made was to the Brownstone Amusement Park, at this point, it's a popular attraction in this summer. And it's bringing business to the whole state, people are staying, and we don't have a lot of hotels here, but people are staying in parks, Hartford, Rockville, Cromwell, New Haven, visit this park. Another park that we discussed this morning, in fact, today was the Powder Ridge Park. There's a developer looking at it, raising money to renovate the skiing and turn it to a full-time year-round water park. These are things that people will actually affect the water. Well, you know, skiing. There's another company that's going with a European mail equipment company in Middletown, it's equipment from overseas, that has 15 jobs. We'll be loaning this money, allowing them 15 jobs. All kinds of little businesses in Middlesex County that are adding on jobs, and the state is working with them to help clean up the economy.
And this money comes from the ECD and it's funneled through Middlesex Revitalization.
Yeah, right now we've
Part of the change.
spent $500,000 at the end of next month. We will complete our first million. There's also a construction company in Franklin, Connecticut that's looking to borrow a certain amount of money for a piece of equipment. It's a major equipment company, construction company, that's involved with state work. And hopefully by next month we'll have some good news that I can bring back to you. Anything to provide jobs in the area. This is what we're doing.
We don't have anything. There was a meeting of the 350 Celebration Committee last night, and working very hard at getting startup dollars and people committed to fundraising in various committees they have. And we have we are planning on coming and speaking to the Board of Selectmen as to what direction we're going in and what our plans are in the next week or two.
Okay.
We're going to look to have the committee be on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen. And I want to thank the Pretty Committee, if anybody's here, for doing a really nice job cleaning up in front of the town hall the other day. They did weeding and the whacking, and they were working really, really hard out there. Yeah, they did a very nice job, and I believe that's it.
John? Good.
What about 7 hours last night with the board?
6 hours, Tom. What was that?
Listen, I went for the last hour and a half. It was like, the poor guy from Newman, when he says, I got 5, this will take 5 minutes, says, no, it won't. No, it won't. Another 25 minutes later, he's still sitting there. Just a little update here. work is going on, you can see it, you know, things are progressing very well. We're fortunate, we have a good contractor, very cooperative. We have an excellent clerk of the works. Thank you, John, for bringing Butch to us. Communication with the employees has been outstanding. We'll see what happens next week when some of the air conditioners start coming out of the windows, because we can't avoid it any longer. But town clerk's office and the assessor's office are fine for now, they'll be last. Just explain to them that you guys are you're in full sunlight all day. But, yeah. So, but it's going well. We were able to work it out, I think it's with the opera, with the seats, to keep the seats, not take them out. No additional money, we're not going to lose any time with the auditorium, so we're just happy with that. Yes. And there's a lot of, you can see, if you go around the building, you can see the amount of brick that they're actually replacing. We're up over 200 brick right now that they're replaced. And we have to break down the chimney over the historical room. We're going to take that down a few courses and rebuild it because it's in such bad shape. They're doing a great job and they're very cooperative. But this is just the beginning. It's going to get more involved. If you notice, this room, the senior meal site is out of here for now. We'll get them over at the Holy Advent Church, thankfully, thanks to the Pastor Pete over there for taking them in. But they're going to be out of here until probably at least the end of October. Because once they start working the green room, because of the asbestos floor tiles, this and that, we can't have anybody doing food in there. We can't have anything going on in the kitchen. We can't have anything happening. So, and the green room has to be done for the presidential election.
Is it renovations or just cleaning?
It's a little bit of everything. You're going to have cleaning. The green room was renovated, and this room is going to be renovated. It's going to be rose, hopefully not this god-awful color.
What about the kitchen? Anything?
The kitchen, we've done most of what we're doing. There's some drainage. Yeah, the hood's been done. Then we had to do that. We pushed that ahead. And there's some drainage stuff we got to take care of. This room's going to get taken care of. The green room is going to be done with track lighting, new floor, because that's asbestos floor tile in there. That's got to come out and be replaced. And then obviously there's going to be all new windows. All new windows and trim throughout the whole building. The green room ceiling is going to be redone too. Yeah. So, and then the auditorium is going to have a major renovation once the opera and the George Lincoln Plaza is here the 19th of August, and that auditorium gets shut down for March. So it's going to be really good. And next year you won't see window air conditioners.
Really?
2 reasons: we don't want them sticking out the windows, and because we lose everything we're doing to accomplish here to save energy and insulate the building better. That throws it away. And once you screw into one of these new windows, you're going to avoid the warranties.
Oh.
So we're going to have ductless air conditioners in the offices. So it's going to be a big improvement. Other than that, that's all I have. Things are pretty quiet, relatively in my world anyway, considering. But that's good. Lynn?
It's been quiet. I just want to readdress, not to bring up what went on last week, but I reviewed the Board of Ethics issue that Mr. Dondero and Ms. McDonald brought up last week. I just went over the minutes from Board of Ethics and also the opinion that they gave to Ms. McDonald concerning her ownership, quote unquote, in land of Clinton Beach Association, of which there is not any. So it was an assumption that they had made in telling her that she would have a conflict of interest in voting on anything in the Beach Association by virtue of the ownership of the property in the association. I guess my point is, because they assumed that, what does that do to their decision? And I guess I'm just asking is if we can make a decision maybe next week or talk about next week what we can do about getting some clarification. They apparently had a meeting the week before that wasn't a meeting, or a month before, with no agenda, and there's no record of any minutes. I don't know how they came to their decision, but it's pretty far-reaching for anybody, I think, and I think that was a concern that Mr. Dondero brought up. So I just want to throw that out there again so we don't forget about it, and maybe in the near future we can talk about it. I also just want to let people know that DEEP and FEMA are hosting an informational meeting in Old Saybrook for Clinton, Westbrook, and Old Saybrook on the 16th of August at the Old Saybrook High School at 7 o'clock concerning the changes, potential changes to the flood insurance maps. And I'll just tell you from personal experience, if you're currently, and this might affect a lot of people on the shoreline, if you're in an X zone for flood insurance right now, and you buy insurance, and then the map changes to an AE, which has occurred on my property, if you already have the X insurance, you're grandfathered for a lower rate. If you haven't purchased it and you change to an AE, you have to buy it at the increased rate, which is pretty expensive. So I would just encourage people who live near the immediate shoreline areas to attend this meeting to see what potential changes might occur to determine if you want to purchase that insurance early. So
What's the date of that meeting?
it's the 16th, it's at the Old Saybrook High School.
What time again?
And it's deep in FEMA, it's from 7 to 9. So I would just want to remind people that that's happening.
From tomorrow.
It's on our homepage, on our website too, but I just think that's an important thing